Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Baltimore City Council Budget and Appropriations Committee. We're here today for Council Bill 20-0527, Ordinance of Estimates for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021. First up today is the Department of Human Resources and the Labor Commissioner. Mr. Herbert, I'm going to turn it over to you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm joined by Councilwoman Shannon Sneed, 13th District, Council Vice President Sharon. Am I lagging? Council Vice President Sharon Green Middleton, 6th District, Councilman Leon Pinkett, 7th District, Vice Chair of the committee, Matt Stegman, on behalf of Mayor Jack Young and Marguerite Curran, staff to the committee. Mr. Herbert, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll jump right into the presentation with the first slide, administration. The administration service develops the HR infrastructure for the city and the agencies, handles budget and procurement, policy, both policy creation and compliance. It's tasked with the management and fiscal oversight of the agency, making sure that there's compliance with employment law and regulatory compliance as well, strategic communications throughout the city agencies, and Civil Service Commission administration and rulemaking, and the HRIS operations. This service is going to be funded at the current level of service. What is reflected is that there were 6 general fund positions that were transferred into administration from Service 772, or the Civil Service Service. This was a cleanup because those represent the policy and compliance employees. As I mentioned last year, we were working to clean up and untangle the cord, so to speak, with how the positions were funded throughout the agency. And I've been very fortunate to have Lindsay Wines as our Assistant Chief of Administration to help untangle those cords and make sure that the positions are actually being paid and pinging to the correct service. So the budget transfers $161,277 of funds for contractual services to the services where those contracts are actually being utilized. Again, this is to make sure that the invoices are paid out of the proper service, and allows us to have more transparency with respect to how funds allocated to our agency are spent. If we go to the next slide, benefits administration. And benefits administration is provides for the centralized management of the city's health plans, dental plans, vision, optional life, and ADD, or accidental death and dismemberment policies. There's not a lot of change here. The recommended funding level maintains the current level of service. Again, it reduces the contractual services spending for current human resources software as a part of the city's transition to Workday. Some of the vendors, Benmark and other ADP products, will not be relied on as much by the agency for administration of benefits. And we'll talk a bit more about that a little later in the presentation, when we talk about how we have strive to build a more robust equity platform within our agency. And also the budget establishes a new activity. That's a bit of a misnomer. It's not a new activity. Again, right sizing and untangling the cords. Those 5 positions of EAP, we've always provided EAP, but they were allocated to the incorrect service. So we've moved them to service number 771, benefits administration, where they should be. Next slide. The next service is civil service management, service number 772. And again, this service is comprised of the Office of Classification and Compensation, the Office of Shared Services and Recruitment. The Office of Classification and Compensation is responsible for classifying occupational groups throughout the city. They also develop job classifications and specifications, and they establish the compensation levels for the positions that comprise the city's workforce. They do that by conducting position, organizational, and compensation studies. And within the Office of Shared Services and Recruitment, the Shared Services team provides HR guidance and support to agencies without HR support, and agency HR offices throughout the city to ensure consistency and continuity of service throughout the city. This is one of the things that we have changed in the agency since I have been the director of DHR, is that initially shared services, it was a revenue generating service, and it was primarily offered to agents, small to mid-sized agencies that did not have a dedicated HR professionals. And what we have done is to assign an HR business partner or generalist to every city agency. And they work collaboratively with the agencies that have an HR office to ensure, again, that there's that continuity of service being provided, and that the way that things are done in one agency is not markedly different from the way that things are done in another agency. And so that's the civil service management service. As you can see, our performance measures for this are the number of classification and compensation projects requested. And I would just highlight that with a staff of less than 6 people, our classification office in fiscal year 19 handled 1,616 specific classification and compensation projects. And that number is not going down, it's increasing. And so it speaks to I think the quality of the service that this team has been able to do with relatively small staff. Next slide. And the final slide is our learning and development, service number 773. This service incorporates the highest continuing education and training operational standards to ensure uniform employee development, strategic implementation, and excellent facilitation with a wide range of learning opportunities to meet the needs of our diverse workforce and align with the agency business objectives and support mayoral initiatives. This office provides learning paths which enable targeted learning for professional development, IT and software, management and supervision, leadership development, city policies, et cetera, through both in-classroom and virtual learning environments. And as you can imagine, in the recent months, we have rolled out a more robust online learning platform, and the learning and development team has been extremely busy. In fiscal year 19, we had about 6,000 city employees who participated in training through the city's learning and development office. Or the target was 6,000, we had about 4,700. This year, we have a target of 6,000. We are incrementally increasing the number of city employees who are participating in training. And the major change to this service is that for the first time, this service is fully funded. Learning and development previously was also a revenue generating service, meaning that we back-charged agencies for learning and development that was used for all learning and development, which included foundational training like new employee orientation and basic supervisory training were charged back to agencies. So as you can imagine, agencies that may have been smaller and did not have a training budget, they did not have the opportunity to utilize the services provided by learning and development. By fully funding this service, we are able to provide that foundational training to all city employees. And so we expect that number of 6,000 to skyrocket as these services are offered to more employees on a more broad pathway forward. That's our presentation.
Thank you, sir. Colleagues, we'll start with Councilwoman Shannon Sneed.
Sure. You can go to someone else. I'm looking for my document with my questions.
Okay. Council Vice President Middleton.
Good morning. Thank you. I guess, you kind of ended with the training piece for employees, and I'm glad that has been really beefed up because, the entire city is basically going through a change. And in light of the things that are going on now between the pandemic and just changes with technology and so on, I think it's very important that your department plays a key role in this. I guess I have one question. The Office of Apprenticeship throughout the years have been moved all over, back and forth from different places. Um, I I just wonder your feelings on that, or are you in contact with the Office of Apprenticeship for the city?
Thank you for that question, Madam Vice President. We currently serve on the apprenticeship committee. We have a seat on the committee. In years past, the Office of Apprenticeship did reside in DHR. A few years ago, before my tenure, it was transferred to the Department of Public Works. Um, my thoughts on it is that I think that the apprenticeship program should reside in an agency that provides services citywide. And so we can discuss that and try to find the best path forward. I know that agencies have been working really hard to create apprenticeship opportunities and have been doing a good job at that. And Michael Alexander has been doing a phenomenal job serving as the chair of that committee. But to your point, I do think that we can discuss where the best place is for the apprenticeship program to make sure that we are offering those opportunities more broadly.
And I totally agree with you when it's put in one area. And I know that Department of Public Works has had that long-standing apprenticeship. They have basically, are the leaders, I think, in just keeping that that one particular apprenticeship survived. But I agree with you. Just to keep the awareness with all these other agencies, it needs to be in a location such as your office to control and help push and market all of the other agencies to continue and have apprenticeships. So I'm glad that you're in agreement with that. And, I think the administration needs to have conversations with you to get that push. And also, my colleague Shannon Sneed of the Labor Committee, I think, is also on the forefront of that as well. So whatever we can do to help that push, please reach out to us.
Thank you, and will do.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Pinkett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question in reference to Service 772, Civil Service Management. Just looking at the average number of working days to fill civil service vacancies. I see that the targets are 31 days. Does that reflect the highest output for that particular service, or is there room to even improve beyond the 31 days? I know that in 2018 or 2019, it looked like the target was 25, and we didn't achieve that. Is that 25 still a goal, or is that just unattainable?
Yes, sir. We're always looking to improve upon that goal. Unfortunately, the 25 days looked at things that are within the control or the purview of DHR. With the days to hire, there are a number of things that DHR does. There are also a number of things that the agencies do themselves. So for example, when a requisition comes into us, the requisition gets approved, the position gets posted, it closes. There are applications and resumes that come in. Those are forwarded to the lists are forwarded to the agencies, and then the agencies, if they move expeditiously, we can have a person hired that's going through everything from the background check, the screening, and the offer, and onboarded within that 31 days. However, what happens sometimes is that I get a number of requests from agencies to extend the list because they've had the list for say 3 months or 4 months, and they haven't hired yet. And so the list expires in 6 months. They will ask to extend that time. And so that goes to the time to hire. We're trying to map out and back out are the things that the agency does and to try to map out what are the things that are within the control of DHR and how many days does it take for us to do those things, and then to come up with that number. And right now it's approximately 31 days. We're always trying to get better. And with the implementation of the new ERP system with Workday, I think that the system will create a lot of efficiencies that will allow us to reduce that number of time to hire as well.
And so are there, I guess, processes or discussions in place to improve the efficiency of the individual agencies based upon, your observations that that there seems to be a delay in that you are working to be proficient, but there seems to be some fault or delay in the agencies and how they are prepared for.
Yes, and that's a great question, Councilman, and thank you for that question. Actually, it goes back to what we talked about how we are restructuring the way that we provide service. So the shared services team, that was part of the idea of having a dedicated business partner that is assigned to every agency, irrespective of whether or not that agency has a standalone HR office. And we have working groups now around a whole host of these issues, including the recruitment piece and how we can better tune that up. And those working groups are working. And I go back to the implementation of the new ERP project. I think that as we prepare to move the technology in place to kind of help the process and make the process less labor intensive and more digital and easier for us to manage as respective HR offices, we will see that there'll be more efficiencies created and that time frame will come down. But to your question, yes, there are working groups right now where we are working with the agencies to kind of build those efficiencies around how we recruit, how we onboard, a whole host of issues that we have identified as problematic issues and how this HR service is delivered throughout the city.
And so are there any particular agencies that are doing better than others? And are there any particular positions where we find challenges or delays, historically find delays in getting those vacancies filled?
We do have a list of what we call hard to fill positions, and I can get that information to you, what that current list looks like. And typically the harder to fill positions, for some reason, we struggle. When I first came 2 years ago, that list was at about 8 or 10 positions. I think it's down to like 4 or 5 now. I know CDLs are very difficult to hire, and part of it is our compensation. And so all of these issues kind of tangentially touch one another in some way, shape, or form. And so to your point, we are looking to try to improve in that area. I can get you that list of hard to fill positions. And with respect to agencies that are performing better than others, I can say that I commend DGS and BSIT. Those two agencies stand out. DPW is doing a great job now. I commend their HR business partner who came out of DHR. She was a DHR business partner in shared services. She was assigned to DPW and did such a great job that they stole her from DHR. And she has been doing a great job to change the narrative about the HR service delivery in that particular agency. And so I see a lot of great work from all of the agencies. I think that we have a great core of HR business partners throughout the city. And what is happening now that I think did not happen before is there's much more collaboration amongst all of the agency HR business partners. So again, we're starting to see more continuity and best practices being shared throughout the agencies so that agencies who have historically done well are helping the agencies who have historically not done so well so that they are improving.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sneed.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question around Service 771, and especially now with us, I feel like we'll be hopefully returning to work at some point, and how we get participation up with our wellness programs. I think they've been great, some of the ones that we've had, creative, doing things digitally. But I wanted to see more people get involved since we'll be coming back, and it may be a time for some. And I just want to be able to like get it out there that we have options and programs available. So I'm just wondering if there's a strategy to increase these numbers.
Thank you for the question, Madam Councilwoman. And as you know, over the past couple of years, wellness has really been more visible to our employees. We've been working with our labor partners to try to find better ways and more effective ways to reach employees. We have seen a drastic increase in our tobacco cessation program, which is doing great. We also have a nutritionist on staff now who is working with employees that are high risk for prediabetes or diabetes. So we're attacking those issues. We are also working, I think, as we prepare to return to work, the wellness team, our benefits team has been working with some of our vendors to kind of ask them to partner to really lean in and help us as we restore services. And I'll just share that we had one of our vendors committed to 50,000 disposable face coverings to give to the city when we begin to return employees to work. So those are the types of things that the wellness team is doing to ensure that when our employees return to work, that they know that they have a resource available to them, and that if there are any questions or any issues that need to be addressed from a wellness perspective, we have dedicated staff to do that. And they're also working in conjunction with EAP, because we've seen an uptick in EAP. EAP went completely digital, excuse me, to respond to the COVID-19 incident. And we have seen an uptick in intake, and they've been able to manage that. And it's good to see that our city employees have that resource, even though they're not physically coming into the office.
Yes, that'll be great. I hope we can, if the longer we stay out, to also do some more virtual stuff, because that was happening as well that I really enjoyed. So thank you.
Councilwoman, you good? Alex, any other questions? Quinn, Lindsay, thanks for coming in. Appreciate all the hard work, and hope you guys have a great day. We're in recess until 10 a.m. We'll be back for Department of General Services. I'm sorry, the Labor Commissioner. Oh. You're in the middle of what? You mean recycling collection? Oh, okay. Oh, that's all right. I understand. So colleagues, do we have any questions for the Labor Commissioner, or we're good? All right. Middleton's good.
I'm good.
I think it looks good. Sneed's good.
Yep, I'm good.
All right. You have a great day, ma'am. Thank you. We're in recess till 10. All right.